What's going on, you guys? It's your Huggable Hipster here, and welcome back to the Casual Nerd. As you guys can already tell, I have the awesome people here today. We have Danny Pena, we have Paris, we have Tony Blanco, even though I mess up saying his last name all the time.
No, not this time. You got it right this time.
Yes, okay. And I have a coffee the size of my head with me as well. So it's going to be a really good podcast. We're going to be talking about some stuff that's happening in gaming, the Xbox showcase that happened yesterday, what we've been playing lately. It's going to be a good time. So first of all, how have you guys been? How's everything going with you guys?
Anybody want to go first?
Yeah, you're already talking.
Sounds like you just went first.
You just went already. You're already talking.
Yeah. Nah, everything has been good. I just got back and I took some time off because we just had a baby a few months ago, and yeah, during my break, I was like, I'm just gonna try to see if I could play some games, and I did actually. I played, some Halo Infinite, some Call of Duty. That's like nonstop, and also I finished Alan Wake 2, which is still my favorite game last year.
Nice. And
I finished also Super Mario Brothers Wonder. Fantastic game. Oh my god, so good. So good. I thought it was gonna be easy, and damn, there's some moments in that game that is tough. And Paris warned me too, like, bro, there's some levels later that's gonna be tough for you. But yeah, just that. Still doing stuff with Paris at GTR, Game Attack Radio, our podcast, and next month is gonna be our 19th anniversary of the show.
Wow, congratulations.
Yeah, I can't believe next year is gonna be 20. That's insane. That's crazy. But yeah, just been having fun. I haven't done a recording or anything with Tony for a while because he's been busy, so yeah. I don't know if he wants to talk about that. But yeah, thank you for inviting us, and I can't wait for us to talk about everything that's happening, in the industry and everything. So thank you.
Who wants to go next?
I'll go next. I've been sick.
Oh no!
No. Yeah, I was down pretty hard for probably about a good 3 weeks. It was like literally Christmas got here, and I'm like, am I getting sick? And then I was like, oh, I'm getting better. And then it just got really, really bad. So this is actually the first week where I'm somewhat feeling normal again. I've actually not really been playing anything at all as a result. It's just not had the energy or the motivation. So hopefully I can start jumping back into that, obviously, and going full throttle, coming here into 2024. It looks like it's going to be a pretty good year gaming wise. But yeah, I mean, that's been my holiday break. As we come back in, I've just been laying on the couch, sick the whole time, coughing and sneezing.
Yeah. For me, like now I'm actually catching a break. Like ever since like the end of November, it's just been a nonstop race. Because we had, the whole Black Friday thing, and then December I was preparing for CES, so meeting with a lot of companies, and then I finally got to go to my first CES this year. Just real quick, I'm going to say I was denied twice, right? 2022, we were all set to go, and then the Omicron variant hit. Nobody went to CES, and then last year the company only sent 10 people, and then this year, I'm not even kidding. This year, the day my plane was taken off, it was supposed to be a snowstorm. Like, no, I don't want to be denied 3 times, But we got to Vegas. It was successful. It was great. Like I didn't realize how well known I was as a tech journalist. I've only been doing this for like 2.5 years, but everybody, I'm like, Tony. So did that. And of course, I got a promotion. I went from a regular staff writer to a senior staff writer. So that was really good, get a nice little pay bump and all that. And life's been good, man. Like I'm chilling right now. Like this is the happiest I've been in my entire life. And this is, it's fantastic. Ariel, okay, I hope you don't mind me sharing this. Like, because I told you this privately, like, I noticed that both of our lives, me and you, they started getting better once we started talking and know to each other. It's like, that's kind of interesting how that works. Like we learned, we got in touch for however it was. And then all of a sudden you start blowing up. Then I start blowing up. It's dope, and
what can I say? I'm just like, I'm kind of awesome. No, I'm just joking.
Well, you are. You are, but yeah.
No,
I'm kind of the opposite. I started talking to Danny and everything got worse.
Yeah.
It's interesting though, because it's like I see your feuds all the time on Twitter, the friendly bants, and now it's like an honor that I get to see this actually happen in real time.
Yeah, that's
You know,
not a
it's-
put on. This how these
No,
guys
this is-
are all the time.
Yeah. You know, the funny thing, we were at, I think it was the Game Awards or Summer Game Fest, one of the two. We were hanging out at the JW, and we were like this, me and Powers just going at it. And someone was like, "Oh, this is for real? Like, you guys go at it? Like, yeah, this is over to us.
Yeah.
Oh my
This is
god.
over to us, man." So yeah.
So yeah, but actually, yeah. So for my thing, I actually have a pretty big announcement for my YouTube family because I haven't told you guys yet. I told you guys right before the podcast, but I accepted a freelance position as a gaming journalist and video editor at Windows Central and Windows Central Gaming. For those of you who are watching, you might have seen the video that went up that Jez Corden shared. So I'm going to be actually their Xbox host for every Saturday. There's going to be a video coming out. So I'm really excited about that.
Awesome.
And
Amazing.
Really
thank
cool.
you guys. And yeah, I
Making
just wanna-
moves.
Always, you can't stop in this industry. You're never gonna stop.
Yeah.
It's like Miley Cyrus always said.
Mm-hmm. No, I'm
Awesome.
glad to see that. Like, I'm happy for you making a lot of moves too, and I'm also happy for Tony because I remember in 2020 we would meet up every Friday at Bryant Park, and we would talk about like things we would like to do in the future, and hopefully things will start opening it up. We want to start do new things. We're getting older. We can't just be doing the same thing over and over. So. And yeah, Paris, I'm happy with him all the time. But no, I'm glad to see that everybody's they're doing new things and climbing in the industry. So that's really cool to see.
Yeah, Danny, real quick, because I literally work now a block from Bryant Park. So every time I go to work, I get reminded of, that summer, because it was good times. Like, not only did we, I'm going to say, keep each other sane during that COVID craziness, but we also came up with so many ideas, and obviously produced a lot of good stuff, a lot of good podcasts. We had Michael Santiago, he was the first consumer to get an Xbox.
Oh yeah,
that was
it
a
was at the
special
park.
time, man. Yeah, it was at the park.
Yeah.
We're like, yo, because you already had it in mind. We're like, yo, we should film it. We should do this. We should do that.
You know what's funny about that? That we were drinking heavily. Oh, it was like me, you, Rihanna, a couple of our friends. We were just there in the park. And I'm like, I came up with an idea. We were like drunk, and I came up with an idea, and it worked
And
out.
I remember you called Xbox, called them like, yo, can we do this?
Yeah, can you give me the okay? Yeah, because we had the consoles early, and we were like the NDA was they were very strict about the embargoes and all that stuff. So yeah, I had to ask permission. Like, hey, is it okay we could do it? And yeah, they liked the idea, and we made it happen. So yeah,
That's what's up.
See, that's like the blooming of everything starting to happen. I really like that. Wait, I'd have to clarify though. Did you call them when you were drunk, or what? How did?
Well,
that
nobody
happen?
nobody knows about
Oh,
that. But
I was about to say
It was-
that one didn't line up the right way.
I was like, I was feeling nice. I wasn't drunk, but I was feeling.
And he wasn't
nice.
drunk. Yeah, he was good.
I wasn't drunk. Yeah, I was feeling nice, but
Yeah,
after-
It's like Xbox. I love you, man.
no, it's all good. No, it's all good.
So I do have a first major question. Dan, you went into it a little bit, but I want to know, since Paris was sick and wasn't able to play a lot of video games, what do you guys want or are projecting to get into game-wise this year?
Ooh, this year. Well, last year was all about Alan Wake 2. That was like my top game, most anticipated for me. Yeah. This year, honestly, for now, it might change. Who knows? But for now, it's all about Hellblade 2. I love the first game. I feel like here's the thing: everybody wants games to be like very, very long. And look right now, because of the time they only have now, it's good to play games like that, which I just read they might be similar to the first game, the hours. I think it's going to be like 8 to 10 hours, something like that.
Yeah, they said
right?
8. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. See, before having a kid, I was like, yeah, I get it. But now that I'm getting into this, I'm 100%. I don't mind playing games like that in the future. So Hellblade 2, definitely I want to play and learn more about Indiana Jones. Like that was something that I was very curious. It's going to be third person, first person, and I got to see it. I was like, oh, first person. I mean, they worked in multiple first person shooters in the past, so this is like perfect. Love the puzzles. I love Indiana Jones. I would like to learn more about Valve. Like I'm curious about it. I'm not excited as like the other two games, but I know in the past Obsidian made some amazing games. Like I played was it the Outer Worlds Love that game so much. I played it and finished it, I think, like 4 times, 4 different
wow.
times. Yeah, two on console and 2 on the Switch.
Oh, I didn't know it was on the Switch. That's actually really
Yeah,
awesome.
it's very slow on the Switch, but it worked. It worked for me because I was on the go, doing stuff. But yeah, it was actually a lot of fun playing that game. Yeah, and I think that's about it for now. It's still the new year. I have a lot of games that's on my list, but it's not up there yet. I just want to learn more about it. Then I'll get excited. So hopefully we'll see something with the new Switch, the new Nintendo console in the future. Maybe we'll get to see some new games there too, if it happens this year. But that's about it for now.
Nice. What about you guys? What do you have on the checklist and the backlog?
I mean, the backlog is one of those things where I gave up on it years ago because it's just impossible. You're not going to get through it. It's kind of, I'm in a weird spot right now where I'm not really like in a gaming mode because I don't have to be anymore. Because I'm a tech journalist now. Like, I don't even remember last game I played. I think it may have been Spider-Man 2. Not 100% sure, but I am absolutely looking forward to both playing and reviewing Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. That's going to be hype.
Same. Yeah, that's gonna be amazing.
Looking forward to that. Yeah, my main thing is like for this year, like obviously I'm gonna still play games, but I'm really, again, I probably because the whole tech thing, I'm really invested in like gaming hardware. Like I got to check out the MSI Claw, the next big handheld, and that was really dope. It's using like an Intel chip, whereas the other ones use AMD. So I'm curious to see if the performance, because right now to me, the best handheld is still the Steam Deck. Nothing beats that. Even though there's more powerful like handhelds, the Asus ROG Ally and the Lenovo, since games aren't optimized for that hardware, they're not as good as Steam Deck. So I'm curious about that. And obviously all these gaming laptops that use the new Intel chip, I'm curious to see how it improves gaming. But as far as games go, I'm kind of with Danny. It's a little bit too early to say right now, but definitely Final Fantasy, and hopefully some surprises will spring up. But there's still a lot of games I do want to kind of revisit from last year. Unfortunately, I didn't get into Alan Wake 2, even though I do. But Danny, I'm going to advice. I want to play Alan Wake 1 first and then 2. Because I want to get the whole picture and Control. I played. Okay, but here's the funny thing. Because I play Control and I've also played Quantum Break.
Yeah. That's good.
Yeah,
I'm glad you play that because again, all those games are related. Even Max Payne, is all related. Everything is part of the Remedy universe.
It's funny because I was talking to somebody about that at work. Like, yes, the Remedy verse. Because everything all ties together.
Yeah, I'm excited for their next project. I know they're gonna have a DLC for Alan Wake, but they're also working on supposedly a multiplayer that is part of the Control universe.
Interesting.
Yeah, that's something that I'm like curious about. I mean, those are rumors. It's not like confirmation. And also, they are working on remaking Max Payne.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah. So they're gonna add stuff from like with the games up now from like Alan Wake and stuff like that. I'm very curious. So we'll see.
Yeah. So Ferris, what are you looking forward to this year from what we've seen so far?
I actually still have to play Prince of Persia. I haven't played it yet. Okay. So looking forward to checking that out. Obviously, all the high reviews and praise that it's had looks right up my alley. Excuse me. Like I said, I'm still getting over being sick. Yeah, it's just so early in the year. It's hard to say because like the things that I am anticipating, which I'm sure we're going to be talking about later, aren't coming until later this year. I mean, one game that I'm very hopeful does come out this year is Replaced from Sad Cat Studios. It's an indie game that'll be pretty sure it's console exclusive to Xbox at launch, but I've been seeing that game since 2021 and it's just been on my radar. So I'm really looking forward to that. And then obviously the stuff that we just saw at the Xbox showcase, I'm intrigued by a lot of what I saw there as well. So, I mean, we need to get a little more into the year. I will say this, and I'm just being honest in my assessment. What we know so far that's coming to PlayStation this year, it's not for me. I'm not saying it's not good.
Clip that. Somebody clip it, please.
No. Yeah, no, hold on.
Oh, no. And that's understandable, though. Not everyone's going to jive with that as well, because in PlayStation, I don't know.
I'm sorry. What does PlayStation have this year? Seriously.
That's my point. I mean,
exactly. So you can't be hyped over something that doesn't exist.
I would probably say the only one would be Ronin, potentially. I could see me checking out, but I really don't have any interest in Helldivers. I still need to see more with Concord because I just simply don't know. I mean, I guess technically Destiny to Final Shape is something that I'm for sure going to want to play, but yeah, I mean that's it. I'm not a Final Fantasy guy, so it's no hate on that. It's just never been my thing. So that's not something that moves the needle for me either. So I don't know. And I'm not saying they're like a console war or anything like that. I'm just saying that the reality of what I've seen so far. Now, I will say, because none of this is confirmed, and I think Danny alluded to it already, but man, when that Nintendo Switch, that new one comes out, and that 3D Mario,
look, the rumors that I heard about that, I hope it's true. I hope
that's game of the year. Game of the year. I can't wait. I cannot freaking wait.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're thinking, and I only heard about this. I don't know if it's going to be actually true, but they're thinking of upping the price to almost $400. I don't know if that's before or after tax, but it's definitely.
That seems about right.
Yeah.
So it's like $399 then.
$399. That won't surprise me.
That'll be powerful. Yeah, that's all I'm going to say about that,
Well, I guess since we're talking about it, again, we're just going by rumors, but supposedly it's at the level of like a PS4, which
That's
for
expected.
Nintendo is more than enough, especially a mobile device. Being able to output graphics like that. It's Nintendo. It could be freaking 2-bit graphics and they'll still make an amazing game. It doesn't matter.
People will be in line waiting to buy it.
Yeah.
Every time.
As long as it's not a Wii U, then we'll be all good,
Hey, look, people could talk
in
all.
The corner just crying.
Look, here's the thing. People can talk.
Wii U.
Yeah, man. All those games got the majority got
they got
Switch.
remade, yeah.
But that console wasn't bad. I think the messaging was bad because a lot of people got confused, thinking, "Oh, if I have a Wii, I could buy Wii U games," and no, it doesn't work.
All right, so let me ask Tony and Ariel this, since you and I got into this last week on the show.
Oh God!
Oh no!
Oh God! It's a legitimate question.
All right,
I say you just call it Super Nintendo Switch, and Danny says that's too confusing, like the Wii U.
I think they should have a brand new name. A brand new name. And remove the Switch. Remove the Switch. Just remove it.
I think they should keep it simple. Literally call it Nintendo Switch 2. That's it.
Oh, 2? Okay,
that's it. Because the Switch, that's the key right there. Right? That's its main selling point.
Yes,
you
got to
switch.
call it a Switch.
Yeah, you have to, because you could switch from handheld to TV. So you need that. And I would think, again, Nintendo does what it's going to do, so I can't break it. But if they were listening to me, I would say, call it Switch 2. You know what it is. Oh, it's the second Switch. I need it now.
Let me tell you this, man. Nintendo could call it Cockroach and it will still sell like crazy, man. So it doesn't really matter. What I'm saying is,
Wii U, I'm telling you,
I thought for a second that would be S squared. That wouldn't sell at all, but like this,
know what? I don't mind that, but Super Nintendo Switch, it's like that's way too long. That's way too long.
No,
I like it, but it's a little too long. I think you got to keep just.
Thank you.
Look,
Paris, you lost the battle, Paris.
Yeah.
I mean, the Nintendo Switch kind of sounds like the superhero that just didn't make it into the Marvel comics.
Nintendo's never had a numerical number.
Exactly.
No, they never have. Yeah,
They never.
Except for Nintendo 64, but you're right about that.
That was because it was 64-bit graphics.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, Super Nintendo Switch, done.
But what? Why?
The SEO on that is going to be interesting.
They have a Super Nintendo Entertainment System. It's the same thing.
Yeah.
I don't know. I
You're
think they should. I think they should be a brand new name.
What about just calling it Swish?
Like Tony said, you have to call it.
You have to have the Switch
in the name.
Yeah.
So
don't call it Switch
Pro.
Pro.
Do Switch 2. So what are they going to call it? Switch U?
No, don't call it Switch Pro. Please, for the love of God, don't call it Switch Pro.
But Paris, I was going to say that. It's like
that's what they're going to do.
They couldn't have like Nintendo Switch and a letter afterwards. They could do that. We've seen that before.
Yeah. Like the Switch, like a
Switch,
I don't know, but something like that. Yeah.
Switch pie or something.
Or they could do this. They could do this. This is what Nintendo could do.
What?
They could call it the Super Nintendo Switch because that's
that's too long, bro. That's too long.
Paris ain't letting it go, son.
That's too long.
It's honestly, number one, the name itself is kind of long there, but they could have just said, like, marketing wise, you have the Switch, and you have two brackets, kind of like the Joy-Cons, and that could be like numerical 2 or something on each side.
Yeah.
That way people
And
can see
instead-
the Switch and then 2.
And instead of you going like this with one, you do it with 2 hands.
So,
Yeah.
so that's less confusing than just calling it Super Nintendo Switch. We gonna put some Roman numeral graphics and Joy-Cons next to it, and that's gonna be better. Yeah, that's not gonna confuse anybody.
But here's the thing: Nintendo is not like Sony and Microsoft. Like, let's put a number after it. Like, I don't know. The only one that was just weird to me was Xbox 360, and then they went back to Xbox One. That was very confusing. But
yeah,
I
guarantee you, Nintendo will not use any name we've used here tonight. I guarantee you that they're gonna do something completely out of left field because that's what Nintendo does.
Cockroach, I'm telling you.
Cockroach.
Why did they call it the 360 though if it's not a circle console?
That, like, you know what? I should have asked that question to Peter Morgan. I had him on the show a couple of times, but I never asked that question about like why 360? Why?
Now I can't remember. I seem to remember why it was called 360. Now I can't. Oh gosh,
was it double the power or triple the power? I mean, I don't know.
It was something about the circle of life or something. It was something cheesy.
Yeah,
you know what? I'm gonna look it up over.
Somebody went way too deep on that.
Baldur's Gate 3 to be on the Steam Deck or Nintendo Switch, because every time I finish playing that game on PC, I want to play it portably right before I go to bed. Because that's the thing, like that's what I've been playing recently, and I'm almost to Act 2, and people underestimate how addictive that game actually can be. Not just because of like the character choices or anything like that, but it's become my personal favorite right now.
It is awesome.
The answer.
Oh, what?
What is it?
The name Xbox 360 was chosen to represent a leap forward in gaming technology. The 360 in the name was meant to symbolize a 360-degree revolution in gaming.
That's cheesy. I'm sorry.
360, we're coming back around then.
It reminds me of what was it that Sega used to call the power they had on Sega Genesis to compete with Nintendo back then?
Oh, what, blast processing?
That doesn't even exist. They just came up with that
They
name.
made it up. They made it up.
Blast off.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, Ariel, you'll like this. There's this one guy I work at the office. He is a very stoic guy. He doesn't show a lot of emotions. Ask him about Baldur's Gate 3, and he gets animated as hell. I'm like, whoa! And he'll just talk and talk and talk. It's hilarious.
The game is excellent. I mean, that's what I mean. Like, I've never been this close to. But Alan Wake 2 was the closest I was to giving a 10 out of 10 at a game review. For the final review, I gave it a 4.7 out of 5. Danny knows how much I did not like the first game, and then we talked about it.
Yeah,
I came around and I was like, "Wait a second, Alan Wake 2. This is like just genius the way that it's done." And now Baldur's Gate 3 is like it's basically a 10 out of 10 game with some maneuvering. If people don't like turn-based, they're not going to like this game whatsoever.
Yeah, I tried. I put in like 10 hours, and I was like, I can't get into this, man. Like I love RPG games. It was just not for me, and I'm not saying the game is bad. It was just not for me at all. But yeah, but I get it. And there's people that I talk to that loves Alan Wake too, and some are like, the game is okay. So I mean, everybody's gonna have their own type of games that they like, you know. So it's all
an
good.
honorable mention to We Sing that. So, but next we're going to be going into a topic that is going to create conversation, probably either a good or bad way. It's there is no in between whenever it comes to these kinds of topics, really. But the Xbox Developer Direct, I was hyped the entire time for it. I don't know about you guys, but what were your thoughts on it? And then we'll get into like some of the subcategories that we'll be talking about.
This is 2 out of 10.
Wow,
interesting.
Don't believe it, Paris.
According to crazy people on the internet.
I do it. Here's the thing. You know what? I agree with Paris, man. I'm like, it's getting to the point where people are just gonna complain or nitpick just to start drama or something. Like I usually, I go to YouTube and you see the recommendations, and one of the videos that popped up was somebody wrote, Developers Direct was a waste of time, and they had one of the developers. I think it was from Machine Games. I can't remember. And they had like the logo of like the Developer Direct. Let me tell you, man, that presentation to me was even better than the one last year. And last year was good. Last year was really good, and this one is even better because I felt like there was more games. First of all, like they had a great messaging on each of the games that they showed, right? And the type of games, and plus the surprises that I had there, it was like there was something for everyone. There was something there, one game for you, or even all of them, or some of them, you know. So I think they did a great job. I just love the editing, love the production. Love that they're letting the developers actually talk and talk about the game, because usually they'll have like, you know, maybe somebody from the studio, like one of the higher ups in the studio, and that's it. Because a lot of developers are very shy when it comes to doing interviews or speaking about their games on camera. And I feel like everybody did a pretty good job in there, man. And it felt real. Like it wasn't. I was. There was one moment. I think it was the presentation of what's the name of the RTS game, Aura, right? That's the name of it.
Yeah.
Where when the developers were talking, there was some guy, one of his coworkers was just walking. He went to the kitchen to open the fridge, and they were like, "Yo, bro, we're filming." Like, I'm glad that they left that in there because it felt really cool and funny, you know. So no, but they did a pretty good job. I just wish that Xbox do more of these throughout the year instead of waiting every January, or we have to wait now until the showcase. Like, give us a couple updates of games that's coming out this year. Have in January, maybe do it like quarterly or something like that. It doesn't have to be every month or anything like that. But yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited for the future. I think it's going to be really, really good for the Xbox overall.
Yeah, what are you guys' thoughts on it? I'm really intrigued to know what Paris thought, actually, not gonna lie.
Oh no,
Like,
I thought it was an 8. I thought it was an A plus production. I really did. I just echo a lot of what Danny just said about it. I felt they definitely took some lessons learned from the first year, and this production felt tighter. It held my attention from start to finish every game. You know what I mean? Yeah, it was great. Definitely. To Danny's point, the biggest thing I take away from this is you allow the people that are actually making the games tell their own story about the game. I really appreciate that. It doesn't feel like a marketing blitz being thrown in your face. It feels like, hey, we're making this game. We're really excited about it. Here's the stuff that we're doing. We think it's going to be really cool. We hope you check it out. And that's the vibe that I got from all 5 games. Like, I legitimately want to play all 5 games that I saw at that presentation. I mean, clearly the highlight that came out of that was Indiana Jones. But yeah, I thought it was very well done. To Danny's point, I don't 100% agree with you doing a dev direct every quarter. I just think Xbox needs to have some form of communication every quarter. I could see them keeping the quote unquote dev direct in once a year in January, like they're doing. I feel like as an example this year, I feel like, all right, we just did this in January, probably late March, early April. I think you should talk about Activision Blizzard, what you're doing with that, right? Kind of intro them into the quote unquote Xbox family, how the Game Pass is going to, all that stuff. Where's World of Warcraft going? Like everything. Then Call of Duty, obviously, their plans with that, etc. But then you have your traditional June showcase. So that's like the big one, middle of the year. Show stuff that's coming in the future. Everybody get excited and all that. Then I think you do something late in the fall, October-ish, November-ish. I know they do the Fan Fest now along with the showcase in June, but I would kind of love to see them decouple those again and have something dedicated to the fans more towards the end of the year. Showcase some more stuff there as well. Obviously, you have Gamescom where they're going to show things as well, and then you end the year with the Game Awards where you'll have a Blade announcement, things like that. So just keep the cadence going of communication is basically what I'm saying. Because I think that was the one thing that Xbox has struggled with traditionally. I feel like 2021, they did a good job of communicating. Then 2022, poof, they didn't talk about nothing. And now I think, they're figuring it out, bringing in Tina Amini to run all that, her and her team. They just do an excellent job. So just keep doing that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So the direct happened while I was at the office, so I didn't get to see it live, but I did catch the clips after the fact. Yeah, for me, the highlight was Hellblade, but that's because I've been a fan of Ninja Theory forever. Like, so I love the first game that was originally on PlayStation, so I'm looking forward to that. Indiana Jones, I'm still like kind of on the fence about. It's two factors. One, and I don't want to give credence to these people, but I am kind of in that sense. I'm like, okay, I'm upset that it's first person, but if it was third person, it would be like Uncharted, which is also ironic because Uncharted was inspired by Indiana Jones.
Can I interject?
But just real quick, but it's Machine Games, they're first person company, so it's fine. Go ahead, Paris, real quick.
And that's my exact point.
Yeah.
It's Machine Games. I'm a huge Wolfenstein fan, so I love Wolfenstein. You could take it all the way back to the Chronicles of Riddick Bay, right?
Yeah.
So, or Chronicles of Riddick, whatever.
Chronicles of Riddick,
yeah. But they've always been good at first-person single-player experiences, so they're doing what they're good at doing. So I have no problem with this. And then, like they said, you are going to have third-person scenarios when you're doing traversals, things like that. So, hey, it's a studio that's good at doing it. Let them do their thing. And when we get our hands on it, if it doesn't land, we can criticize it then. I think the criticism and the quote-unquote disappointment that we're seeing right now with that is just completely unwarranted. It's almost like I want to say, do your homework on who's making this game. What are they good at doing? Let them cook. Let them do their thing. That's all.
Yeah. So but that was more of a personal thing. I don't really want to give credence to. And also the other thing is like I'm kind of burnt out on Indiana Jones. Like the last two movies have been absolutely terrible. I'm like I really don't care right now. So but we'll see. Avowed. We'll see what Avowed. I will say right now I'm not interested, but I can become interested. But it doesn't seem like it's doing anything different than those other type of RPGs. And but yeah, Hellblade for me was definitely the main one. I will say the clips that I saw, I did like the fact that it was like the developers showing us what they were doing. Like it felt more intimate. I think they did a better job of it than remember when EA did that like documentary type thing like 10 years ago, and it just seemed very forced and stuff. Like I think this was a little bit more natural. So if Xbox keeps doing it like that, I think that's good. As for the cadence, I think 3 updates a year would be good. Like you get one in January, get one in the middle of the year, and then one at the end. Because you don't want to oversaturate people either. You want to have a nice balance. But I will say I like the fact that all the games that we saw are coming out this year. And we're helping. We got a specific date, May 21st. I'm already there, bro. I'm already there.
I'm there.
I am so hyped for that game. And Danny, like you said, it's like the game's 8 hours. I'm like, good. Like, I don't need a 50 million hour long game, so that's good. But I think it's good. And hey, just to throw that fuel into the fire, at least I know what Xbox is doing this year. I don't know what Sony's up to this year. Like Paris, you name some of these games, I didn't even heard of half of them. It's like the only big game is Final Fantasy, and that's a Square Enix game.
Yeah. That game is gonna be big though. That game is
it's gonna be again. That's probably gonna be my game of the year. But it's to me, yes, I know it's a PlayStation exclusive. I understand that, but to me, it's Square Enix. What Sony Studios doing? We know what Xbox Studios are doing. We know what they're cooking. But yeah, I think this is gonna be a good year for Xbox. We'll just have to see if these games actually do release. Remember, they had that 12-month roadmap they released a while ago, and barely any of those games came out. So we'll see what happens there. But as for the showing itself, I think it was good.
You know what, Tony? I was going to ask you and everybody else here. So I know Hellblade 2 is coming out, but it's only coming out in digital. I had this conversation with Paris about it too yesterday. I'm like, what's the vibe are people mad or what? So
I'm going to say this, Danny.
But wait, there's one more thing. So yesterday, I went to Target yesterday. I had to get some stuff over there, right? So, and I'm like, just curious. I'm gonna go to the video game section to see, what games are available and everything. So, I go to the Nintendo section. It was a bunch of physical games of Nintendo. Then I go to the PlayStation physical games. I go to the Xbox section. No games, just cards for like. Game Pass and stuff like that. And I know recently Best Buy is removing all physical media, movies, games, gone from the stores, all their stores around across the country. So I'm okay with going digital because I started doing that now a long time ago. There was a time during the 360 era I had 300 to 400 physical games of that during that time, and that's including Nintendo Wii at that time, and also PlayStation 3. Like I had a lot of physical games. I ran out of space. I'm okay with going digital. Plus, it's easier for me to just switch on the console, just switch, and I don't have to get up and put the physical disc in there, right? Now, as a PC gamer, all of our games are digital, so I'm okay with that too. So my question to you guys, are you okay with that? This is only digital only. Even Alan Wake 2 is only digital and not physical. So I just want to hear your thoughts to see.
Why you completely changed the subject from what we were talking about to talk about this? This is not your podcast.
I know, but she brought up, Tony brought up about Hellblade, so I just want to know.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Look,
I'll jump in first. So I'm gonna give two answers. Okay, what I've seen, here's the thing I've noticed, right? Not to get too metaphysical about it, but I've noticed that physical media collectors are very loud, right? So like if I were to just go off of Twitter, you would think that physical media, especially in games, rules all, right? Yet last year we saw when Sony put out, how many people buy digital games? How many people buy how many people buy physical PlayStation games? Okay, let's just have fun here. Out of 100%, what percentage of people buy physical PlayStation games?
That's a good question.
10%.
10%. Okay, Tara says 10%.
That buy physical games.
Buy physical games.
I would say at least 7% of players will buy physical.
I think that's very low. 10 and 7 is very low. Maybe 20, 30. Let's go with 25. 25.
Okay, I'm gonna say right now. I asked the same question on Throwdown last year. Every two of you are actually close. Danny, you're off. You're way off.
Oh, really?
4%.
Oh my God.
4%.
I mean, it makes sense, but still.
Yeah. So that goes to show you, even though, again, if I were to go off of Twitter, you go, oh, everybody's buying games physical. No, it's just a small minority. This is why stores are just cutting this stuff off. Everybody's gone digital, right? So yes, I'm hearing a lot of stuff on Twitter. People complain about Alan Wake, complaining about Prince of Persia 2, I believe. I think it's only digital. Correct me if I'm wrong.
It's physical. It's physical.
Okay. But and Hellblade too. Oh my God, Xbox. Blah, blah. Listen, bro, no one's buying these games digital, right? As for me, Danny, I made the move in 2014 when I realized that when you buy a disc, you have to install the entire game onto the hard drive. I'm like, what's the point? What is the point of this? So I'm like, I'm just going to cut out the middleman, right? And then it was two things that happened. So that happened, and then there was one time. This is how long ago this was. Assassin's Creed 3 was coming out, right? I was getting ready to go to GameStop, and a huge snowstorm happened in NYC. I'm like, I got to get this digital, and then so I set it up, to download. And I woke up, I'm like, yo, there's a new game in my console. I didn't have to do anything. It's just right there. That's crazy, So I've already gone. Like when I heard that, Danny, it was literally like, oh, it's all digital. Okay. Like all my games are digital anyway, and like you said, PC, if you're a PC gamer, you haven't had physical games in years, so nothing to complain about. And lastly, I live in a studio apartment, man. I can't be having all this stuff. Like I've gone digital for games, like movies. There's a couple movies I made by here and there, books, everything digital now. So I don't mind that at all, man. And Danny, I'm really not surprised by the fact that you only saw like Xbox like cards for Game Pass, because that's kind of where things are going with them. So to me, not a problem at all. I do not need physical games at all. I haven't for almost 10 years now.
So Tony knows I'm completely the opposite.
Yeah.
I am a physical collector, but I understand that we're moving more like. We're just progressing. This is just a natural progression of what is supposed to be happening. We don't see, people making games for the Atari or the GameCube anymore. It's the same thing here of where we are actually going towards what COVID kind of hindered to a degree, of where we're seeing things starting to catch up of what the progression is naturally supposed to be. For Hellblade, I mean, yeah, I'm kind of upset that there isn't going to be a physical copy, but I'm still going to play it anyway.
Yeah,
and exactly. That's kind of the point. When the next consoles come out, they're going to be all digital. This is the last generation of having a disc drive. Even if you look right now, look at the new iteration of the PS5 that came out. Sure, there's there is a disc in it, but it was literally built modular so that you can
Harris,
take it
I'm
out.
sorry, I got to ask you this. Do you think the next consoles will have like an optional drive? I think they may do that, you know?
I don't think they will. I don't
No,
think they
you,
will.
ooh,
I
you
think,
didn't even think that.
I definitely lean more towards Microsoft just saying we're all digital for
They're
sure.
like, F it. They were like, F it.
You know what? Yes, I agree.
And I kind of think PlayStation's going to follow suit with that as well. It won't surprise me. But it's to your point, the stats that you're bringing up, they clearly see the numbers. They know the vast majority of people. I mean, the overwhelming number of people are going digital at this point. And then you have your outliers that like to be physical collectors. But like you just pointed out, if the game ain't available physical and you want to play it, guess what? You're going to go get it digital and play it. So at some point, you got to cut the cord and move on. And I know a lot of people don't want to hear that or like it. Like you said, on Twitter especially. But it's just a reality of where we're headed. It's just, look, Microsoft been trying to do this since 2013. So
and they got hammered.
Yeah. So I think we're at the point now where people, you know, all our entertainment now is streaming. It's online. So this is just where we're going.
It's
So
totally natural.
Yeah,
And that's the thing,
you know,
too,
Paris,
that I loved about it as well, because when I get sent the majority of my games to review, it's digital. It's for a key. They don't, unless you're like a popular gamer or streamer, they're not sending you PR packets or anything like that. They're like, okay, here's your form of payment in the form of the game, which is like $70 to $100 anyway. So we're going to give you a digital copy. And that's normal now. You know, back in the day, I remember there used to be game demos inside magazines that you would get at the game store. And it's like Resident Evil 2 was that way back in the early 2000s. So the fact that they're migrating away towards that, it's just natural progression. But people don't want to hear that because they want to have something to complain about.
Yeah, real quick, I want to jump in on two things. So, Ariel, yes, I remember it was around 2014, right? That was the last year where I stopped getting physical games. I was so thankful because sometimes they would be like shipped to some other place. I got to go get the stupid game and stuff. But Paris, you know what I found interesting about what you said? Remember when the PSP Go came out and everybody got mad that you couldn't play the disc on it? Now the Steam Deck is out. You can't play disc on it. Everybody loves it. Isn't that interesting how far we progressed? Yeah. Isn't that interesting how we just progressed, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Or even this, the whole always online, when Xbox announced that people were with pitchforks just complaining about it. And every game is always online. You know, so but here's a crazy thing. I remember my first game that I reviewed, first game that I got from a company, it was Nintendo. Back in 2001, it was for Advance Wars. So they sent me a physical copy of the game. And then they said, oh, yeah, once you're done, please send it back. I had to send it back to Nintendo. Yeah. That's how it was back then. It was, they'll have like a certain amount of games. They'll send it to the media. And then the media, once they're done, they'll send it back and etc. So, But then my first digital game that I reviewed, that I remember I got a copy and I was like, wow, I'd rather do this, was Crackdown 2. I don't remember that, Paris. That's when Xbox started sending codes to review Crackdown 2. And I'm like, yo, they should do this instead of sending a physical game. This is perfect. And ever since then, I'm like, I like this. Because my first digital game that I ever downloaded was Geometry Wars. It was only $5. So, but ever since then, I was just buying the games at the stores. Just buying it. But once I started downloading games, that's when I'm like, man, this is the future. There's no point of me getting up, change it to this. Like it's too much.
I mean, think about this. I remember, dating myself, but I remember, God, that had been 2004, right? When Halo 2 came out, the midnight launches. Remember, we used to go line up at midnight and go stand out in front of GameStop to go, and because you had to pre-order in case they run out of a disc. You know what I mean? It was like
Didn't they have that though with Zelda and Tears of the Kingdom? I think that was the one time I saw the gaming community actually like forge together in positivity, was when that game came out and you had like the pre-order exclusive of like the plaque that you could get with the game itself.
Well, I'm gonna really date myself now. I remember 1998 when Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time came out, and you had to line up outside of GameStop because make sure you got the gold disc.
Gold,
When that was-
cartridge,
Yeah, the gold
cartridge,
cartridge.
Yeah.
Yes, correct.
Yeah.
Cartridge. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Me
great. Yo,
sitting over
yeah.
here with the physical edition.
so many physical games. Yo, you know what's funny? The last midnight launch I went to was for GTA 5 in 2013.
Really? That was your last one?
That was the last one I went to.
Last one was.
Yeah, that was my last one. And it's funny, and that was memorable because I had just started being a game journalist. I was like, STFU and Play with Torrance Davis. I was interviewing people on the line about why they were hyped for GTA 5. We did a video on it. But yeah, that was 11 years ago now.
You know what? I'll tell you which was my last one. It was either the Nintendo Switch or when the Super Nintendo Classic came out.
Ooh.
I went to Best Buy and there was so many people waiting in line to get that. So many people that they stopped gaming a long time ago, but they just wanted to have it because I was like what they used to play, and plus they want to show that to their kids. The line was so long. I think that was the last one for a game. I can't remember, honestly.
The last
It's been so long.
game outing that I got that I stood in line for a midnight release was Resident Evil. It was, oh gosh. Well, what was it? It was the most recent one that came out, actually.
What, the remaster?
4?
4?
No, not 4. What was it?
2? Was it 2?
8 Biohazard.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Village, right?
That was
Village,
the last
Village.
one. And the GameStop that I went to get it, there was a line of maybe like 30 people outside, and they had like the score from the game going on inside the shop and everything. I was like, man, I feel like a kid again.
Yeah, you know what? And actually, I'm probably going to release it next year. I want to do this, but I still have the original recordings that I have when we did the Xbox 360 launch. That there was people like, look, I don't have an HD TV. I don't know if this is going to work. I don't know. And people were actually talking about like what games they were going to purchase at that time. And that was the first time that we started downloading digital games, was that era. 360, PlayStation 3 era,
Yeah.
but and I wonder if Nintendo, or how Paris calls it, Super Nintendo Switch, if it's going to be digital or both, physical or digital.
It'll be both. I don't see Nintendo ditching the cartridges.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
You still think it'll be the little SD cards?
Yeah, I think so.
I agree with that.
Again, if it ain't broke, why are you trying to fix it? Just keep it rolling. That's why you call it Super Nintendo Switch, because you're not changing a lot. You just,
or Nintendo or Switch Pie.
Oh my god!
Switch brackets squared.
Exactly.
No,
right?
stop it.
No, but actually, this goes really great into the next topic, because this topic is inspired by a Twitter. I apologize that I get into them sometimes, but it was based on a Twitter feud that I experienced over the past 48 hours with people complaining at me because of one take that I had. Wait, what?
What did you do?
I said I didn't want the remake of Resident Evil 1. That's basically what I said. And I said that, listen, I will die on this hill, I'm paraphrasing myself right now, of where I would rather not have the Resident Evil 1 remake that was done in 2002 touched, because everything that was revolutionary to horror and what gaming is, a lot of it came from that game. So redoing that, I feel is kind of a slap in the face to the game. So many people, I was commenting that under someone else's post, and it became a nightmare. So I want to know what you guys think. Do you guys think that in some cases remasters or remakes are needed? Or do you think that sometimes game preservation should be thought of when it comes to certain titles?
I think it's both. And I don't say that as a cop-out answer, because I can think of, yes, we need game preservation, 100%. But I can also think of something like the Dead Space remake that just came out, where that was a worthy game to remake, and it felt earned to be able to do it. I think of how they remastered the Mass Effect collection as well. That one made sense to me. Obviously, like we're talking about Resident Evil 4, we obviously know Resident Evil 4, remaster remake that they did obviously was so good that it was in the Game of the Year contention. Those make sense to me. When you quote unquote remake or remaster a game and it's only been out for like 3 years, it's like, come on, really? No, we
Like
don't
The Last
need
of
to
Us
be doing
Part
that.
2. Why?
Hey, I wasn't going to say it, but you did. I get in
Yeah, I was
trouble
going to try to
Clip it,
allude to
clip
it,
it,
but
somebody clip it.
Yeah.
I don't see the
No.
point in it. Somebody, listen, I will look at the camera right now and say it. Last of Us Part 2 does not need a remaster. It too recent of a game that came out. And whenever it comes to the point of where it's like 3 years that a game came out, why are we doing a remaster or a remake? For accessibility reasons, I completely understand, but no.
Yeah, and
You know
to
what?
be honest, that wasn't even as egregious as the first Last of Us. That got a remake the year after, right? Remember, it came out on PS3 in 2013, and then 2014 you got the PS4 remaster. So that's even more egregious, right? And Paris, to piggyback on what you said, right? Okay. Here's the thing. I'm actually on the opposite end. I think Resident Evil 1 does need to be remade because even though the one that we have right now is the GameCube remake, right? Those tank controls, man, they don't function. Like, I know you could switch the controls up,
anything bad about the tank controls.
they're horrible. I don't know how the hell we dealt with that stuff. So, but the main point I want to make is, like, if you get a remake of that game, the other remake still exists. It's not being negated. Right. So you could have both because now you have 2, 3, and 4 in a very specific style. It would be good to get that in the same style. But again, if you want to play that GameCube remake, which is currently on PS4 and those consoles, it's not being taken away from you. So in that sense, you keep the game preservation and you update it for, better controls and stuff. So I personally would welcome it because, again, I wanted to go back to that game. I forgot when they re-released it. It's like 2017 or something. And I couldn't play. I'm like, I can't play these controls anymore, bro. I cannot do it, So
Yeah,
I'm on the other camp. Yeah.
I mean, the thing is that, of course, I want to see fans happy with a remake and everything like that. But I have a bit of a bias because it was the first game I ever played when I was like 10 or 11 years old. And then I have the nostalgia that obviously is attached to it. So I will fully admit that it is because of nostalgia. I don't want this game to be touched.
Yeah, I agree that. But here's something else to consider, right? That may make you feel better. I felt the same way about Dead Space and Resident Evil 4. I said, those games are perfect. They're not to be remade. Those 2 remakes shut me up. They're fantastic. They are great, And Ariel, just to soothe your soul there. Capcom has made 3 awesome remakes in a row. They're probably going to do another one. Maybe some questions about 3, but 3, the problems with 3, the remake, were also the same problems that the original game had. Too short, too action-packed.
Actually, the main problem that 3 had was that the optional ending was not there, so you could also have the ending with Barry. They got rid of that completely.
Yeah, that was bad, but like 2 and 4, fantastic
4,
remakes. So.
I had one main issue with 4 where they continued the lifespan of, oh my God. What is his name? Mr. Hot Stuff, the guy who you meet, who helps you get out of a space, who was tied up with you with I forget his name.
The Spanish dude, right?
Yes. Where his characters actually, the longevity of his life was continued far longer than it was actually in the original. So that was one thing of where they kind of changed the story there a little bit, and he was killed by the completely wrong person than in the original as well.
Well, I'll tell you this. I'm going to tell you the first remake that I played ever, and this is going back to the Super Nintendo when Nintendo released Mario All Stars.
Yes, that's that is the remake of all remakes. That started it all, man. Yes.
And guess what? I love the original for all those games, and I love that package. And as a fan of Nintendo, I was like, this is perfect. So they remade all those games, plus releasing an unreleased version in there that's never been released right here in the States. Loved it. And I think it's fine to have both. Why not have the old and also the new? Because there's a lot of people that probably worked on the new Resident Evil games that they were probably inspired playing the original when they were young. And this is like probably their dream to work on those games, and probably they have ideas at that time or even now. They're like, it's probably going to be even better than the games, that they released a long time ago. So I'm fine with both, man. Like, let me tell you, Dead Space, man, let me tell you, I was super hyped because when I saw the presentation of that one, because I love I love Dead Space 1 and 2. We'll talk about 3 because 3 was not that scary at all. But yeah, like I would love to see new games like that, like where they were making it again and release it, and they'll have like new features and stuff. I'm okay with that. I know you guys mentioned Mass Effect and a couple other games, man, but like for example, I'm excited that we're gonna get to see more remakes in the future from other games because there's so many games that a lot of people couldn't play back in the days, or they can't. Let's say they can't find the console, they can't find those discs. But if they would release it and change it up a bit and have it for now, a whole new generation is going to start playing that too.
Like Silent Hill 2.
With that.
That remake that's going to be coming out.
Which one?
For Silent Hill 2, that remake that's going to be coming out.
That's how Bluebird's working that. Right? Yeah. I'm excited for that.
I'm so nervous because that's actually one of those titles of where I didn't play Silent Hill games until about, I would say, 5 or 6 years ago. And I was like, oh, wow, this is actually pretty cool. So I'm really cautiously optimistic about that title to see how they're going to not only preserve like the legacy of Silent Hill, but they have all these other titles that are coming out. And I just hope that at some point, since it's been over 20 years now since the release of Silent Hill 1, that they take a look at that one as well.
Yeah, no, I'm excited to see the future. I think this is it's good. I don't see anything wrong. I see it more as a good thing. Like, look, there's not that many companies that have been releasing or remaking games that's only been out for like a year or two. There's barely any. Maybe the only places that I know of, unless you guys know other ones. But I'm okay with it. I don't see anything wrong with it.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. So the next topic that we're going to be diving into has to do with part of the Xbox showcase. Now, a lot of people were trying to, I could tell on Twitter, manage your expectations as much as possible. But we all had those, those moments of where we're like, oh, I wish they would show this, or I wish they would show that. If anything, what was a game that you guys hoped that they would have showed, but you were like, okay, I can see why they didn't show that game?
For me, Perfect Dark, but I know they were not going to show that because they were going to show it at a different time. I think this is not the time to show that game for this particular type of game. The games that they showed now are games that are ready to be released later this year, and I'm okay with that. The thing that I don't like is when a company show a game or announce a game and we have to wait for 5 years or even 6 to see it, right? But the reason why a lot of companies do that is because they're working on the project and they need developers. They need to start hiring, right? Get the people excited, so more people could apply to the studio. So so they can work on that game, and then years later it will come out. So that's why we got to see the announcement about Perfect Dark years ago, was because they needed developers at that new studio they have here in Los Angeles. So at that time, when I started seeing that, I think it was God of War and a couple other games, I couldn't really understand that because I was always talking about like, man, I hate when they announce games so early. But I get why companies do that. It's for hiring and also to get the fans excited. But it's more for hiring purposes.
Paris, you look like you really want to laugh or say something.
What happened?
So that was cute that you said Perfect Dark, Danny. I really appreciate that. But are you ready?
Yeah.
I got the game that I wish would have been there.
Look, I can't even say because it's coughing.
I know. Hey, I'm sick. Okay. Cut me some slack. Everwild.
Ooh.
That is a game that would be perfect to quote unquote re-debut at one of these dev directs, because you give Rare some extended time to kind of talk about, I don't know if it's the struggles or whatever, but that game's been in development for a long time and we know absolutely nothing about it. So when they finally do re-debut it, it'd be nice to hear from Rare talking about it, understand what the game's going to be. Is this something that I need to be excited about? So not seeing it here at the Dev Direct obviously means it's not coming this year, unfortunately, but hopefully at the showcase, they'll have a trailer or something. So we'll see it again.
It's not canceled?
No.
I thought it was canceled. No?
Okay. No. I follow the creative director on Twitter. She posts all the time. She's excited about the stuff that they're working on.
Okay, that's good. That's good to know.
Yeah.
And also, Paris, I know you said that, but it also reminds me of kind of like Skull and Bones, where they show it, get delayed, show it, get delayed. I don't want that either.
Stop it! Don't compare it to Skull and Bones. What's wrong with you?
Yeah, that's an insult right there.
Jeez.
No, I'm just saying. I'm just saying like that part. I don't like. Announce something when it's ready.
But to be fair, they've not talked about Everwild. I want to say since 2021.
Yeah, they only showed it once, and that's it.
No, twice. They've shown it twice. They showed it at the original debut in 2020. Then they showed it the second time in 2021, and it's been ghost ever since.
Yeah, Paris always mentions me like what this game is about because we still don't know. I remember that.
Well, hey, I said it to Phil Spencer himself. I'm like, well, what the hell is it? I don't know what this is. Why should I be excited about this?
Yeah, messaging is very important. You don't want to confuse the consumers, man. So I agree.
I think I have an unrealistic, borderline delusional expectation for the Evil Within 3 to pop up. That's
I don't know.
Oh,
that was
let me tell you,
that'd be good. Yeah,
day one for me if that ever happened. I love to.
Oh, it was kind of like the guttural reaction that I had whenever Blade, that commercial, when that popped up in the Game Awards. I literally felt my soul go away from my body and then come back and create this hyperness that I've never experienced before. The movies are part of my childhood, and to see that game come to life, it was everything for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, as for the Xbox, I got what I wanted. The main game I've been waiting for all these years is Hellblade. We not only do we know it's coming out this year, but we got an exact release date. So I'm like, my expectations were met, you know. But jumping on that though, every single, it doesn't matter what if it's Xbox, PlayStation, Nintendo, right? People always get too hyped. Even if developers try to set up, they get too hyped and then they get upset. Why didn't they show this? We literally knew what games they were going to show before this, right? So if you were upset over what wasn't shown, you shouldn't be, because they literally showed you what was going to be shown, you know? So, but yeah, personally, I got my Hellblade. I'm happy, you know?
Yeah, that was my biggest favorite from the developer direct, because Hellblade: Senua's Saga, like when that first came out with the first game, I was completely blown away by the audio that it did.
Yeah,
like the fact that they tried to properly show what schizophrenia is like was so incredible and groundbreaking for the industry there, that they had an actual psychiatrist working on the game development, working on the process, and I thought that was incredible. So this chapter that's coming up for Senua, I'm so excited to see, because the audio that they had, I was listening to it on my headphones for the majority of it. Oh my God, I'm so
it was really good. I was like, damn. That was
so great. It was kind of the way Alan Wake 2 was. Like when you listen to it with your headphones, it's so trippy because you have audios that feel so distant and then it's so close and it's so immersive the way they're doing audio now. It's absolutely. Yeah. But the next topic that I want to go into with you guys is not exactly a hot takes topic, because we see hot takes all the time. You know, we see people being negative. We see people, you know, saying all the things that like they would never say to their mother. So why do you say it on Twitter? I want to go over what your positive hot takes are. What is the one thing that you love most about what you do? I know it sounds sappy, but I'm sappy. What can you do? So.
Well, I'm Mr. Kumbaya on Twitter. So
I saw that. I was like, oh no.
That's what you are, you know.
I'll answer your question, but I actually will address that super quick to just say, yeah, that has become like my quote unquote nickname, you know, with certain individuals online, because I'm too positive. I'm probably the biggest a-hole on this whole panel. But even with that said,
Danny agrees.
I don't like focusing on the negative of the industry. I mean, sure, when things need to be critiqued, you're going to talk about that stuff. Obviously, things with layoffs, all that, you're going to, you're going to talk about these things. But when we're talking about the thing that supposedly is bringing us all together that we love, gaming, why am I going to constantly be negative about that stuff? No, I'm not going to dive in the mud arguing about the stupid console war constantly, because I think it's ridiculous that grown adults do that every single day of their lives on this app. I want to talk about cool stuff to play. I want to talk about the fun stuff. But God forbid I do that. That's wrong. I'm not negative enough. So I always find that hilarious. But the thing that I love the most is what we're doing right now. Seriously, I love this stuff. It's, I'll take it all the way back to 2005 when a certain individual was on the Team Xbox forums spamming it up, talking about, man, come check out my show. And finally, I was like, all right, man, let me check this out. I was like, oh, wait, this is really cool. And I've been a fan of it ever since. I love gaming. So I love talking about it. I love analyzing it. I love, trying to have an opinion, trying to break things down and analyze it and kind of, where do I think the industry is headed, good, bad, or indifferent? You know what I mean? I just love that stuff. So that would be my answer.
I love the fact, I love sarcastically, I want to say, the fact that like Jez's words were used to kind of twist what you were saying about the industry. And people were taking it so out of context because Jez posted an article a few days ago about Xbox.
Him and I talked offline. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. And I was just like, oh crap, my boss and one of my friends are going at it. What is happening right now? And then everybody was just like kind of fueling the fire with certain things. And I'm just like, why can't people just be happy? Because we're having so many things that are created for our enjoyment. This isn't where we're supposed to be putting our energy at all.
No, completely agree. Actually, let me address that super quick. And yeah, Jez and I actually had a conversation. I love Jez to death. There's no issue with us at all. But I read his article. And, I know a lot of people, I shouldn't say a lot of people, but there were certain people that were highly critical of what I had to say about these rumors, because they're just that, rumors. And people are trying to fill in the gaps and think the sky's about to fall and all this crazy stuff. And I'm just basically saying, pump the brakes, relax. It's not as bad as you think. Here's what I think they're trying to do. Right? That's basically all I was saying. And then Jez, obviously, and I think Tom Warren had an article as well. I know Rebecca Valentine also had an article, speculating about, is Xbox going third party? He had valid points. Nobody's here to disagree with that. Man, to your point, to see people online try and twist it into an us versus them thing, it's like, no, we're actually friends and colleagues. I don't disagree with a lot of the things that he said. It's just we have a different point of view on where we think it's headed. That's all. And the irony of all this is none of us know. We will not know until Xbox officially says this is what we're doing. Until then, nothing's changed. We're all just speculating, honestly, over nothing because we don't know.
Yeah. I said better myself.
Just for clarity, you're talking about Jess's article about how Xbox fans should be upset, right? Paris, about third parties. That's the article, because I remember that makes right. Okay.
Just and my whole point is, I don't think it's going to go to a place where people need to be upset. I think you'll get a few titles here or there that are going to show up on platforms because they're trying to make money. They're trying to get return on investment, which makes sense. Excuse me. But the Indiana Joneses and the Avoweds and the Hellblades of the world, no, they're not showing up on another platform. And that's my whole point. They're not devaluing your console or your investment into the Xbox ecosystem because allegedly, potentially, Hi-Fi Rush might show up on the Super Nintendo Switch.
And what's wrong with that? With more people just enjoying the content that's been provided by the developer.
And that was the point that I was making. If you've played Hi-Fi Rush on your Xbox and you loved Hi-Fi Rush, why do you care if 18 or 24 months later it shows up on a Nintendo Switch and someone else gets to play it? It shouldn't matter.
Yeah. You know what's funny about that, Paris? You and I had that same exact discussion when Horizon Zero Dawn came out to PC. We had the same. It's like you realize that it being on PC is not taking away your PlayStation game. You still enjoy that. You're still good. Like just because the games are coming to another platform doesn't mean your platform of choice is being denied. The only thing you're being denied is ammo for this dumbass console war. That's the only thing being denied here. So I agree with that assessment. But coming back to the positivity thing, right? My main thing is I love the sense of community, but I'm gonna take it from a specific level, right? All four of us grew up in very different places around the world, right? Danny and I are the closest, we're from New York, but basically all four of us grew up, all had the same basic experience when it came to gaming, right? We play with our friends, go to people's houses and stuff, read about it in magazines, watch E3 or maybe attend E3. Like we've had this sense of community. So it doesn't matter what part of the world you're from, you get it if you're a gamer, and I love that. Like, this industry has afforded me the chance to know so many people around the world and we all have that same story in the end. So I love that so much. And obviously, because me being in industry, this is more personal. I just, I'm making a living off this stuff, which is funny. Remember back in the day, you're wasting your life with games. You're never going to go anywhere. Ha ha. Look at us now, Yeah. So the sense of community, I love it so much. Danny, remember we had that get together that you arranged, like with all the I forgot what it was for, but we were in NYC with like all those other cast of people that are fans of ours and stuff.
Was it Twitch? Was it Twitch?
Yeah,
the Twitch stream, Twitch meetup or something. Was it that?
Yeah, it was around that, but I remember like so many cats that were like not only fans of you but me, and then and I love seeing those like kind of like people meeting for the first time, and then they became friends. It's so cool seeing that. Like gaming brings people together. Obviously it could tear them apart too on Twitter, but in real life, it brings people together, man. It's such a lovely thing. I can't. That is probably my favorite thing beyond the games, beyond all this other stuff. Sense of community, because we're losing a lot of that lately, like in the modern world, social media kind of drives us apart, but when we have those games, they bring us together, and that's my favorite thing about the gaming as a lifestyle.
Yeah, for me, games completely changed my life. Completely. Like my grandmother bought me an Atari 2600, and it was a wrap for me. I was like, I'm in love with games, and I remember I couldn't afford to get a lot of games or a lot of other consoles, right? But I remember in the same building, I had friends that one person had a different console. I had like the Nintendo or whatever, and we'll go and trade. Like we'll lend each other's consoles or each other's games, so we could also experience what we've been, playing, and so on. And that part I just love, where still to this day, I've been meeting new people. Like I met Paris was because of gaming. I met you, Tony, all of you because of games. And that's the part that I feel that it's important to talk about, because right now, I think a lot of us are just focusing so much on the console war nonsense. And honestly, it's a very small percentage of people that actually do that. That's just a very small group of people that are stuck in that bubble. But the majority of people love games because they love games. They don't care about brands or anything like that. They just love playing games. And because of gaming, I met my wife. We met during the pandemic playing Apex Legends almost every night online with us, and my brother will also play with us and everything, right? And I was keeping everything on the wraps because Paris didn't know, and everybody. But look, we moved all the way from New York because we felt like, hey, man, I feel like I found someone that is perfect for each other, So, and I feel like it is important to talk about those things, man, and how I started a business because of gaming. I started a business when I was a teenager. In Dominican Republic, I would charge people in the city when I was living at for them to play my games, and I got money, and I bought my own motorcycle because of my little business, and I was like in my early teens. And then fast forward with the podcast and the stuff that I'm doing now. But what I do also is to speak to your youth and to tell them that it is possible to achieve your dreams. It doesn't have to be gaming, but I'll talk to them my experience with gaming, right? And I think that to me is like the good positive thing about it is changing people's lives, where it changed my life, but everybody's gonna have a different story, like for me, meeting Paris and Pete when we started, when I started content creation, that was life changing to me. And look, like they were still friends, still to this day. I invited them to our wedding and the baby shower and everything, because they're part of my family too, man. And we still doing the podcast together. And for us, we're doing it because it is fun. It's not because we're getting crazy money with the podcast. It isn't even about that, Like we have our own projects, our own stuff that we're working on, right? But I just love having conversations like this and just changing people's lives. I hope that whoever's listening or watching this, I think I hope they they could also achieve their dreams and change their lives because of games too, man. So, and honestly, I don't want to really highlight the nonsense that we see online because honestly, it's a waste of time. It's not gonna help us. It's not gonna help the industry at all. What they're doing is a lot of them are just doing that because it create engagement, it create conversation and debates, and also they're taking advantage of clickbaits by doing that. So why promote nonsense? I'd rather promote your videos, Ara, that you've been releasing, like stuff like that, where conversation about games. Let's just promote the positive part of it. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah.
Man, how was it? Like, it's kind of like whenever someone does a PowerPoint presentation and it was just really fly. It was absolutely awesome. And then it's just like, man, I have to level up with that, but I'm going to try. So it was really interesting to hear everyone's perspective. I think my perspective, whenever it comes to hot take of positivity, one of them I saw with a review I did with Dead Space about talking about accessibility and talking about how, well, I have really bad vertigo. That's why I can't do VR. And one of the reasons why I mentioned in the piece I did, a lot of the zero gravity sections made me feel extremely nauseous, and people resonated with that. They were like, oh yeah, no, I get really bad vertigo too. So I haven't seen any other reviews mention this. And it's a fact that I could literally impact someone's buying choice, or I could impact how someone viewed a game. And it made me feel so incredibly like I have a responsibility towards people. And I love that I could literally like write something and influence how someone thinks in a positive way. And that just makes me feel so happy. But also the fact that I've been able to get to know people like you and call you friends. And I consider you guys like family, honestly. I consider you guys like, brothers that I never got to have before. And it's so incredibly awesome to just be able to sit down and chat with people who I so just vastly respect in this industry, that I've been able to have the opportunity to create something literally from being almost homeless with my family to going and doing this now, and being able to go from wishing like, oh, I wish I could like have the money to buy games to review them, to now working at Windows Central. So it's something of where anyone can achieve what they want to do. It's not easy work. It's extremely difficult to be able to do it. It's extremely hard to be able to understand that some nights you'll not sleep. Some nights you'll be able to just say like, okay, do I sleep? Do I eat? Or do I do work? And sometimes it's a mixture of all three, and you'll wake up just face down in front of your computer. So it's just one of those balances of where like, this life is something, and this job is something I never could have pictured. And I'm so incredibly humbled by everyone here and everyone that I've been able to come across in this industry. Because I mean, take Liana, for example, Liana Rupert, she is absolutely such an incredible human being. And I'm so blessed to be able to call her my friend. We have accessibility discussions. We've been able to talk about silly things like French fries, and the fact that she mentioned Paris, and she was just like, he gives the most awesome hugs. And I love talking about memories like that, because it's what builds the core of everything that we do here. It starts from friendships and it evolves into building a family. And that's what gaming really is. Not the crap that we see on Twitter, but it's all of the things that are surrounding what we're talking about and why we do this. Like literally, I played video games with my dad when I was 11, and he was the one who taught me, hey, this is how you create bug control in a video game. And he taught me how to code, so it's what built it. So, yay. Positive.
But it's and I loved everything that you just said, but it's crazy. Like you, and we've all been saying it during this conversation about the bad of Twitter, and there's a lot of bad, but it is that same platform that brought a lot of us together too. You know what I mean? So there is, and I think that's why I stick around, because there is some positive on that app that you want to take out of just some of the lifelong friendships that have been made just tweeting. Like, it's so funny, during the pandemic, that was the way a lot of us were communicating, right? And then I'll never forget that Game Awards. Right, what year was that, Danny? I guess that would have been the 2020. Was it the 2021 or the 2021? 2021. Oh my God, boy, it was like a high school reunion.
Nobody cared about masks. They were like, yeah.
Everybody got COVID that night because everybody was just hugging and it was so excited to see each other. Yeah. It was great, and that's the stuff that I take away from this. Like I remember, like Tony may not even remember this. Tony and I didn't necessarily get along, but way back in the day on Twitter, we used to kind of go at it a little bit. Yeah,
I barely remember that.
Me. Like way long time ago. But then I don't even know what it was. There was something in common that happened that kind of brought us together, and we realized, wait, we're just alike. And then we became friends, and hell, we probably talk, at least message like once a day. You know what I mean? But that's the beauty of that of that app and just gaming in general. Like I said, like you pointed out as well, we focus so much on the negative of it. And that's what dominates the conversation, because that's what creates engagement. And that's why you've seen a lot of people lean towards that. Let me just say the most outrageous thing that I possibly can, because that'll get people to pay attention to me. God forbid I talk about something great that happened to someone, or want to congratulate someone on something, or there's an achievement or whatever. Crickets. No one pays attention to that. But you say something crazy, abso-freaking-lutely, you're going to get thousands of likes and retweets, and the engagement. If you got the blue check, you can get some money out of it and drive people towards your YouTube channels. Say a bunch of crazy stuff on there too that lights people up too. It's like, that's the unfortunate place where we are in this current age. I hope we get out of it, but man, it's not good. But with all that said, there is a lot of good at the same time, because this is how literally I've met everyone here, because of that. So, and like, it's so funny you bring up Liliana. Again, met her via Twitter. I hadn't actually seen her face to face until last summer when I was up in Seattle. That was the first time we actually met face to face. And it was like I had known her my entire life. You know what I mean? That's cool stuff like that. And then, like, unfortunately, I saw her at the Game Awards, and I was getting a little sick. Maybe that was a precursor to what was to come. So I saw her for like 2 seconds, and then I wound up leaving because I didn't feel well. But yeah, those are the cool things that I like to take out of all this.
Yeah, I got to jump on that, because you're so right. Like, I wouldn't have met any of you. I wouldn't have a job if not for Twitter. And I think that is a part of why I stayed. There's a lot of nonsense, but like, I know so many people from there. And I love what you just said right now, because there's never been a single instance of me meeting somebody that I only known on Twitter in real life, and it was awkwardness. It was like Twitter just breaks the ice. Like, it's like you've already known each other. And again, I experienced that when I went to my first E3 in 2013. When I went to my first E3, everybody knew me already because of Twitter, right? Same thing with CES. Everybody already knew me, right? So yes, while the platform obviously can be very, very toxic, we see it all the time. It's also good, although, Paris, I will say this though, with Twitter, you don't even have to say anything outrageous to get like hate. Remember, I've literally tweeted out Xbox Game Pass, and you see chaos in the comments. But
the reason that is because it don't matter what I say. That's why I don't read the comments.
Oh, they're coming after you regardless, bro.
But it's because I'm saying something that they don't like, because I'm not talking about their favorite brand. So, you like that? Well, then now I'm, like you said, I'm going to quote unquote come after you. So unfortunately, I've gotten to the point on social media where unless I follow you, I don't see what you say, because I'm not diving into comments looking to see what people are saying, because it gets very disrespectful. It gets very toxic, and that's just not good for your mental health, number one. But it's like, I'm not going to respond to it. So why even deal with stuff like that? I unfortunately am to the point, I say what I say, and I just keep it moving. And then if I see Danny say something, I respond to him with an angry emoji, and then I just keep it moving. I mean, it's
always hitting us on my post.
I have said this on Twitter, and I don't know if people know this on my YouTube channel, but I literally posted a video calling you guys mom and dad because I saw you two arguing, and I was like, literally, they are the mom and dad of the gaming industry. And everyone was like, yeah, no, now you think about it, it's actually true.
Oh my God.
That is funny.
It's wonderful. It's wholesome. It's absolutely, it's kind of like what Buffy the Vampire Slayer said in an episode of where it's like, you guys are cookie dough. You're not done yet, but you're kind of there. You're becoming cookies.
But see, I'll even take it a step further. Obviously, Danny's my brother. We love each other to death. It's been like forever, but it's been so great with Rihanna coming into his life, and just like they're literally the greatest gaming love story of all time. But she's like, it's so funny. Like, I love Rihanna to death. Like, she'll do something that's like, I could tell that she's been influenced by Danny, and I go, hey, y'all just alike. Y'all were literally meant for each other because she'll say something slick, and I'm like, damn, that's something Danny would say. Wow, he rubbing off on him. Next thing you know, you Violet one day gonna be saying that to me too. I'm like, damn, old man, leave me alone. You know? No, but I love it. That's the whole point. It's like you forge these friendships that it just goes beyond just being friends. I mean, it's like literally family. You know what I mean? Where like, you know, not to put all our business out on Front Street, but it's like, you know, we've all at some point checked in on each other, like via DM. Hey, what's going on? You might see something happening on the timeline or whatever. You all right? You need any help with anything? Things like that. That's priceless to me. You can't fake that. You can't, pretend that. That's just real. That's just real friendship stuff. Like, I even remember like just kind of going with stories with me and Danny, like being in out and about when we're at that Spider-Man 2 preview event. Yeah, people like just coming up to us, knowing us because of Twitter, which I just find
that was wild. That was wild.
Yeah. Like, oh my God, it's like, I just love you guys online. It's like, I love how you're back and forth. This is so great. But that makes me happy actually, because it goes to show you people see like, oh yeah, they're not serious. They're just obviously having fun with each other, because it's like, you are allowed to have fun online. There's no rule that says that you can't. So it makes me happy that some people can get some enjoyment out of seeing him and I, like fake arguing online. But yeah, like I said, I like focusing on this stuff, not all the negative nonsense that goes on. This is what makes me happy.
Yeah, but I want to go back to something Paris said, because you're right. It's like, to quote Vin Diesel, is about family, and I really do love the fact that when because whenever something's going on, either in our personal life or in our gaming career, we always have each other to talk with. And also the other thing I appreciate is like we also keep each other in check too. Yeah. People who don't have your best interest in heart will not tell you, yo, you're messing up, you need to chill. Like, that's something that a lot of people don't have. I'm not going to name any names, but we've seen it on Twitter all the time. It's like, yo, you don't have somebody, but so I like that aspect. It's like we keep each other in check and also push each other forward. It's like, all right, man, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. It's like, because some people, like, if you go on Twitter and you kind of celebrate yourself, they get mad at you or whatever. But it's like, no, you need to have those spaces where you're celebrating each other's successes and your own, because that drives you forward. And I really appreciate that. Every single time that, Paris is doing something big and Danny's doing something big, I'm doing something big, we all, they're like, yeah, man, go on it. It's awesome. That's good. You need that in your life, and that's another thing I like about gaming, because I wouldn't have had any of that without that, without gaming. It's a beautiful thing, man. And I wish people would see more of that. But again, they just focus on the negative stuff. And it's like, you really should focus on the positivity. Again, there wouldn't be like, 1 billion players around the world or something if gaming didn't bring people together, man. It's awesome. And again, Danny, you were just telling that story about how you first got into gaming. I'm like, yo, that was also me. You're like, oh, I don't have a Sega Genesis. I'm going to my cousin's house. We're going to play that. Oh, I don't have enough money for this game. Let's go to Blockbuster. Like, we all have similar stories, man. And it really is a beautiful thing, man. It is hard to be positive sometimes when you see all that toxicity, but like you said, what we're doing here, this is what it's all about, man. And we need to see more of it.
Yeah, like I even remember actually mini story. I remember the first time I was able to afford, with like the money I made from content creation and freelancing work, the Nintendo Switch Lite. And I did a tech review on that. And I was like, whoa, like actually like can buy this thing.
Yeah, I do want to jump on this real quick. It's just funny. Again, we're separate people, different parts of the world, similar stories. You know what I did with my first check, like that I got from actually my writing? I bought an Xbox One. Like, that was the first thing I did, because I'm like, oh, I could afford all the consoles now. Let's go. That was the first thing I did. And then the year after that, I built a gaming PC. Because I'm like, yo, let's just keep it going. It's really cool to have your passion pay for more of your passion, and then when you're really up there, like like we've all seen, you get sent this stuff, and I'm not going to say for free because obviously you got to create content for it and everything. It's a reciprocal thing, but it goes to show you like companies want to work with you if you're positive, if you're professional. There's a lot of cats out there who don't understand that, who wonder why they don't make it. You don't make it because you're not professional, bro. So just maybe you want to be a little bit like us. Just saying.
I don't mind that. Like, that's the thing. I'm more like, I already get called a PlayStation shill because I have a PS5 and a decorative PlayStation plaque for some reason. So
I gotta be negative right now. I gotta say this. Okay, those same dumpster divers, right? I want them to go into the past and dig up all your positive PlayStation tweets. What about those, huh? We don't talk about those, do we? What about all the
Tony, they don't have to look too far because you do remember PlayStation sent me that Spider-Man 2 PS5 and that caused a ruckus on his own. Then you were like, he doesn't deserve that. Why is he getting that? Blah 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 blah. It's like, obviously, well, actually, this person I did respond to because it kept coming up. The person that made the video on it, but my whole thing was, it was like, I said to him, it was like, dude, you don't realize how hard I've worked to get to this point where I get these kind of opportunities, not just from Xbox, but from PlayStation, from Ubisoft, from EA, and like on down the line. It takes a lot of work and it takes a lot of trust from these companies as well. And the second you betray that trust, guess what? They're not going to work with you anymore. It isn't about your kissing butt or doing any of that. It's about your being honest about your opinions on things. You're giving relevant information on these products. That's what they want. Because the funny thing that people don't realize about Xbox is, again, this is where you and Danny can vouch for this. What people don't realize with me is I was super critical of Xbox, big time, at the start of the Xbox One era. Probably from 2013 to 2016, I'm like, what the frick are you guys doing? This does not make sense. And, you had people like Aaron Greenberg, like they obviously followed and saw what we're doing. And they would tell me they appreciated that because they're trying to get better. They don't want to hear we're the greatest all the time. They want to hear what are we doing wrong so we can fix it. But you do it in a respectful way. And the same goes for PlayStation. Like, a lot of people got on me a year and a half ago, how long that was, about The Last of Us Part 1 being $70. And I'm like, that's ridiculous. Why is this game $70? It should not be $70. And people got all mad. Oh, you're just hating because you like Xbox. No. It's because I'm a consumer and I shouldn't be spending full price for this remake. That was my whole point, right? And I'll never forget, I was talking to some devs from Naughty Dog who shall remain nameless. They were shocked that it was $70. They didn't agree with it either. So I'm like, I guess I wasn't crazy then. I find that a lot where I'll talk about things or whatever, give my opinion, and then you get a little inside info on it and you find out, oh, wait, guess I wasn't so crazy when I was talking about that stuff. And I'm not saying that like I'm always right, because hell, I'm wrong too. But the point is, I believe in what I'm saying. I'm genuine in what I'm talking about. And I think that's what a lot of creators need to understand is just be you. Be true to who you are. You don't have to be a gimmick or a character online. And like I said, be angry all the time or whatever, the new hot trend is to do. Just be yourself. And if you be yourself, that will shine through. People will see that. Your audience will see that. They know that you're not just, trying to trick them into engagement or whatever. Like Danny and I, the conversation that we may or may not have had with a certain creator at a certain preview event back in September, because that person admits that they put on an act online. Yep. They admit it. And it's just like, bro, what are we doing? I don't agree with that. Maybe I'm just an old fuddy-duddy.
Point is like, going back to what you said earlier, I was at CS. I'm not going to name the manufacturer, but I was talking to one of their PR people behind the scenes, and they told me that because I've been critical of some of the products I've reviewed this year, right? Last year. And they told me, we appreciate that. They said that. They go, yes, some of your reviews have been harsh, but like, we know that you're not coming from a bad place and you want us to be better. And the feedback that you've said in your reviews, we are looking into that stuff. And why that happened? Because I'm not there bashing the company. I said, here's the problem. Here's a possible solution in a very respectful manner. And if you do that, you're fine. Being fake will not get you very far. It may work. Yeah, it may work for a little bit, but in the end, it's going to work against you, man. Like if you're genuine and honest, Danny, you've been in this game forever because it's always been you. You're not putting on an act. Same thing with you, Paris. These guys, like what you see on Twitter, what you see here, this is real. These are these guys. This is us. I still remember when I went to my first E3, and it still bugs me out. I had so many people tell me, Tony, you act the same way in real life as you on Twitter. Why would I act any other way? It doesn't make any sense to me, But the real ones are the ones that stick around, man. And a lot, you see too much fakeness in this industry, man. And but they always fall off at the end. How many guys haven't we seen come and go in this industry? A lot. A
lot. People move on. And I'll tell you this, I publicly I haven't really mentioned this, but a couple months ago, I got an email from the government in the Dominican Republic because they wanted me to talk more about the industry because they also want to get into the industry. They want to invest money on creating schools for young people to learn how to code and how to develop games and stuff like that. So I spoke to the team, and recently they wanted me to do a video because they were going to do like a presentation with a lot of the young people in Dominican Republic because I'm being myself. I'm not a character or anything online. If it was like that, I really doubt they would have contacted me to have that conversation with them, And because of all these opportunities, the president of the Dominican Republic wanted to meet me a couple years back. I interviewed people in Hollywood because of my interview skills. Studios gave me opportunity to do that. Again, acting differently, I would have gotten this opportunity. So that's why I'm always going to be me. I'm not going to try to be like this fake character online because I know that's not going to open the doors for me. What's going to open the doors for me is me being myself. There's always going to be only one Danny. There's one Paris, one Tony, one you, Ari, right? Like there's only one of us, nobody else. So why not be yourself? What's wrong with that? If you're trying to create clickbait, it's because that's the only skills that you have because you don't have conversation that's gonna stand out. I'm gonna give you a perfect example of what happened with us a couple months ago. Paris and we sat down with developers of Insomniac, right? Was it Insomniac, yeah, right? Paris? Yeah.
Oh,
it was for
Spider-Man 2.
For Spider-Man 2. We sat down with them, right? Great conversation. We posted online. I posted a clip of it, everything, right? And we noticed that the news picked it up because Paris mentioned, he said, oh yeah, when you go to the city with, let's say, with Spider-Man, you'll see Miles in the crime scene with the crime activities. They're batting it out with the enemies and you go there too, right? And nobody asked that question during the conversation with the developers over there at the event, right? Because why? We were just being ourselves, and I didn't get to see that. Paris got to see that when he was playing the game, and he brought it up. It was not no clickbait. It was just a conversation, right? Me having conversation with Ed Boon about Mortal Kombat 1 that came out recently. Great conversation. And look, I'm not a hardcore Mortal Kombat fan. Like I just know about the game, and I played the game at Summer Game Fest, and there was things that stood out to me that I brought it up, got picked up by the media. Same thing with interviewing Sam Lake. My dream was to interview him for years. I interviewed him twice this year, and both of those conversations got picked up because I was being myself. And I think that's what people are not realizing. They're depending so much on being this fake character or creating clickbait. They think that's the only way to get attention. And no, I feel it's like in the 90s with hip hop, right? There was a lot of artists that would create music because they would create music for the radio because they wanted to create a hit. That was the only way for them to create a track that will become a hit, right? But there's artists that just create music, and still to this day they're around creating music because the stuff that they release will last for a long time. I can see them as legendary artists when they get older, still releasing music. But when you have those people that just want to do the fast thing and try to blow up quickly, it doesn't work, or they will end even faster because the people that are consuming their content, they're gonna go somewhere else, and they're gonna discover somebody else that creates better content that is not clickbait.
Yeah.
So it's been working for us. It could work for you, and everybody else is watching instead of doing the nonsense online. You know what I'm saying? So.
Oh yeah, and that's the thing too, of where like even when I remember, perfect example, I got I think I actually remember back February of last year, I got my first AAA game key, and a lot of people were saying, "Oh, she has a AAA key game key now. She's probably going to say that it's good because of that the fact that she was sent it." Comments, it was Forspoken, and it was comments underneath my YouTube channel, and I was clarifying to people that no, they sent me the key because they trust my reviews. I don't need to pretend anything that I'm not. All the reviews that I get, I'm honest about it. That's what got me borderline doxxed when I reviewed Fallout 3, and that's what got me sent death threats for my reviews that I've done with Resident Evil. So
Death threats?
Yeah. Oh no, I've gotten death threats for my entire career over almost all the reviews that I've done because I'm honest about it.
Oh,
insane.
Yeah.
Insane.
And then when I go back to try to find some of the tweets, if it's on Instagram or anything like that, they're like, "Oh, I was just joking." And it's like, nice try.
Here we go. Here we go.
It's always, well, it's just jokes. I was just having fun.
Or I don't remember. I don't remember that. Really? I did?
It's
I
right
reading so
here.
much content. I don't remember that. Let me tell you, I don't look for trouble, man, but like if I see someone on that either caused something online, I will go up to them and be like, "Hey, it's me, so and so. Why you released a video or whatever talking about either me or my crew, my friends? Like why?" And I bet you the majority of the time, either they don't remember or really, I've never done that. Nah. You know, but I don't know, man. Again, people will do so many things online because they think it's cool and whatever, it gets attention. But in reality, man, like, look, there's companies that are not going to work with them because they don't want that nonsense at an event. You know, they don't want that. They want people that are going to create good content, not kissing butt, but good content that is going to have people, talking about their games. You know, that honestly, that's what I love. I love having conversation with developers, man. The reason why we get so many interviews and opportunities is because we're professional. We're not creating chaos. Like, look, there's one story, and Paris know more about this than me, but there was a person years ago that got invited to an event way back in the days, and he got mad that there was no playable demo. There was no demo at the event. And he's like, if I knew this was just a presentation, I would have just stayed home and not come. Right? He said that to the president, the higher ups of the studio, in front of him, in front of everybody, in front of PR. And guess what? This person never got an opportunity after that. And guess what game it was? Modern Warfare, the first Call of Duty, which completely changed the FPS game. Completely. When I heard that story, I was like, what? No way. Can't believe it. How people will do that, man. You know, like, that's great. That's wild to me. Wow. Everything.
Change the industry. Industry.
If I would have known I wasn't going to get hands on, I never would have got on that plane.
Yeah. Yep. Just like that.
This is me. In shock. I could not believe it. And it's so crazy when you think back now. I mean, this is like Vince Zampella. Obviously, we know him. Jason West was there. It's like, it's crazy to think what he did. And yeah, he was basically done.
Things that you just don't cover out of respect for the people who are going through what they are. And I already stated to people, like, no, we're not going to cover this because I don't want to cover this out of respect for people. But there are some who just want to get their 15 minutes of fame. They don't care what they're covering. They just know that it's a popular news story. And that's what's upsetting to me, is that anything, even if it's people's private information leaking, they will cover it because it's a hot button issue.
Mhm.
And that's what makes me so disgusted about some of the, like, I've had to block people who I've known for years over it. And they asked me, why did you block me? I was like, I don't associate with that. You can cover it on your own time, but I don't want to be included in any of that. You can just do whatever you want.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was interesting when that whole thing came out, because to me that was more of like robbery. Like, it wasn't like those leaks that we seen online. Like, I think that this situation was differently. Plus, having personal information of people that worked on those games, I felt like I didn't feel comfortable talking about it, so I never did.
I will say this though, I actually took the opposite stance, because I'm like, okay, yes, I understand people's information got leaked. You don't need to talk about that. But every single time there's a game leak, it's always discussed. I understand the situation is different, but it's always discussed. And as a journalist, you're supposed to report, right? So I had no qualms in that. You don't have to talk about the leaked information. You don't want to do that. So that's my stance on it. And I talked about this with some of the other guys in the office. We're like, yeah, it is weird, that no one's talking about this, because I'm like, so when I didn't talk about it, because Throwdown was just obviously on hiatus during that. But when I came back, I talked about it. I'm like, I'm a journalist. I report. Here's the information. Here are the games that were leaked. We see leaks happen all the time. But obviously you're not going to go post people's private information. That's just wrong, but I'm like, so I again, I'm not going to throw names, but I did find that hypocritical. It's like people who literally talked about leaks a week before are not talking about these leaks. It just seemed very disingenuous. Like, if you're a real reporter, you got to talk about at least the games that were leaked, because we've done it in the past, and that's that, but obviously, the people who did it are a-holes, like they did the ransoming and all that. And I hope, the law gets them as they should, but I will say this though, that is all, that's my stance as a reporter, but it also sucks for two reasons, right? As a fan, none of all those surprises are gone. All those surprises are gone, and then as a developer, everything you've worked hard for has just been thrown out there. It sucks. So I see both ends of it, and obviously, Ariel, out of respect, I am not going into details on this podcast about all that other stuff, but what was leaked. But yeah, that's my sense. I see it as a reporter. If you're a reporter, you got to report the news. You got to, that's just how it is. But it sucks, man, because there's just so many leaks that happen. All that cool stuff that would have been like, oh, hype. All that's gone now. Like, remember a few years ago, NVIDIA had this big leak. All those surprises were just, like gone now. Now every time like a game comes out, I was like, oh yeah, that was in the video leak. That was in the video leak. So it kind of kills all that, So yeah, that's my, I know I purposely didn't tweet about it because I know I would get just hammered on Twitter. So I just talked about it on my podcast,
Yeah, and it's so interesting to see people too. You see where people's motives really are whenever it comes to certain circumstances, like a leak or a treacherous invasion of privacy, such as that. Because whenever I see people and I see content creators who I've known for years, it's funny because I think this might be a rather like, what's the right word to use? The Spanish wants to come out, but the brain is like trying to go back to English right now. Because I'm trying to think like, what's the word for like, I can't English right now for some reason. I know
we could say it in Spanish, Danny, and I'll translate.
It comes out as something of where if one person does something, another person does another thing, and another person does another thing, and then that other person feels obliged to like, oh, I have to cover it now that so and so covered it. So it becomes this chain reaction, and then we see people then losing the point and losing the value of the original thing, and they're not covering it because they know what the original meaning is. They're covering it because of the popularity at that point.
Yeah, they're chasing traffic, and I even though I'm on a website and we kind of have to do that sometimes, I don't like it. It's like, if you're gonna talk about it, it should be because you feel it's like, I'm talking about as a gamer now. That's what we do. You should do it because you have something to say about it that's different. Or something relevant. Not just, oh, so-and-so's talking about it, now I got to do it. It's like, no, you got to, if you feel passionate about it, you got to talk about it, But like we said, this whole podcast, respectfully so,
Yeah, and I feel like that nuance is lost amongst a lot of people on Twitter, especially. But I feel like on podcasts like this, where we're seeing each other's faces, we're seeing the nuance, we're seeing the intonation of the person. It's a lot easier to understand that way. And I feel like if we were to get, and I know this is a major hypothetical, but if on any podcast we were to get one troll on there, they would not say what they genuinely mean the entire time. They would cover it up with gaslighting and deflecting the entire time.
Paris, how many spaces haven't you and I been on with our haters who sing a very different tune?
Oh, it's every time.
Every time.
Every time. It's always different, especially in person. I just want to shake your hand. I get that one all the time.
It's so two-faced, isn't it?
I hate to interrupt. I unfortunately have to leave because I got to go to my son's game. But this has been fun. I do appreciate you inviting me on.
Yeah, I also have to leave. I have to take care of Violet because.
Oh my gosh, it's been almost 2 hours.
We've been at it. Yeah, this is probably a good place to wrap it up. Probably a good place to wrap it up. But this is fun, man. Again, it's just hanging out with family, with people. You know, I love it.
It was thank you for inviting us. Yes. That was a lot of fun.
Of course. And you guys are always like, if you just want to come on the podcast and be like, Ariel, let me on. Like, just say so. I love you guys. But you all, I'll end it on this note. Please just be kind to one another. Understand that, you know, journalists, people in the community, people who work in the industry, we all just try to do our best every single day to bring to you guys the content and the words that we find the most valuable, that we want to be able to impart on everyone. So with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this podcast. If you all like our faces and what we do, please be sure to subscribe and hit that bell down below. I make videos every weekday here on YouTube. May you find your worth in the waking world, dear hunter. Stay casually nerdy, and I'll see you all in the next video. Umbasa.